One of the limitations of SOLIDWORKS is that it only allows you to create one exploded view per configuration. However, if you need multiple exploded views of your assemblies, you can either duplicate a configuration to create additional exploded views, or use derived configurations to contain the additional exploded views. The benefit of using a derived configuration is that it's linked to the parent configuration, meaning if you need to make any changes to the assembly, you only need to make them in the parent configuration, and all of the exploded views in the derived configurations will reflect those changes as well. Let's go over both options and I'll show you what I mean. Here, I have an assembly with a really simple exploded view already created. If I click the exploded view icon on the assembly toolbar, instead of creating a new exploded view, it opens up the properties for the current exploded view in this configuration. Now I'll click Cancel, as I don't want to make any changes here. Instead, I'll right-click and select Add Configuration. Now this will create another regular configuration, not a derived one. I'll name this configuration Exploded View 2 Regular and click OK. Now I can switch to the new configuration and create an exploded view for it. With this configuration created, creating the exploded view is very straightforward. I'll click the exploded view icon on the assembly toolbar and explode a few parts. Now this gives me two different exploded views for this assembly. To view each one, I first have to activate the configuration, and then activate the exploded view. Now let's use a derived configuration. I'll right-click on the default configuration and select Add Derived Configuration. I'll name this configuration Derived Exploded View and click OK. Now, from within the derived configuration, I can create an exploded view again. I'll explode a few components. Just like before, I can switch between the configurations I have here and activate any of the three exploded views. So, what's the difference between the two methods? Well, let's take a look at what happens when I make a change to the assembly. I'll switch to the default configuration, and I'll suppress a few components. Now, when I switch to the exploded view, in the default configuration, the components are suppressed. In the derived exploded view, the components are also suppressed. However, when I switch to the exploded view created in the separate configuration, the components are not suppressed. So you can see that the suppression state of components is reflected in derived configurations, but it's controlled individually in regular configurations. If your exploded views will differ in which components are suppressed, you must use separate configurations. Otherwise, you can use derived configurations. So to summarize, multiple exploded views can be created easily as long as you remember that each new exploded view will require its own configuration. It's up to you to decide whether it should be a separate configuration or a derived configuration.